Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast. We're going to continue on with our discussion all around email marketing. In particular, in this episode, a really important one, I'm going to talk to you about how do we go about getting the email addresses of people in our community who are not yet patients, but who might like to be sometime in the near future. So it's all about building your email list. So if you haven't listened to any of the previous episodes, this one will still make sense all by itself, but you might want to kind of go back to the two beforehand where I talk about how to write a magnetic email. We talk about the right way to come up with subject lines and the graphic design, all those kind of things. And then prior to that, I really dived into why I think email marketing is an important part of a strategy for us as natural health and wellness practitioners. So in essence, a brief summary is this. Because we don't have huge teams behind us and billion-dollar budgets, we need to be really thoughtful in around what kind of marketing strategies and tactics that we use. Email marketing is incredibly cost effective, and its return is great. It's said on average that for every dollar we spend on email marketing, that it can return anywhere up to kind of $35 to $40. That's my kind of experience there too. The other thing that I like about email marketing when you do it right is an email really requires a response from our audience. So when I send you an email, it gets inside your inbox. You have to decide really, there's only one of three choices once it's in there. Either read it, delete it, or archive it. Social media posts, when we're creating a video and we're sharing that across the webs, whether it be Instagram or YouTube, Facebook as well, unless we're in there at that exact moment, it often gets lost. So it's a really fast flowing river. If we're not there at that time, then our audience misses it. The likelihood of somebody taking an action after an email is way higher. We see things like you're 6 times more likely to get a click-through rate on an email than you are from a social media post. So if we're wanting somebody to take an action, i.e. make an appointment, we're much more likely to have them do that from an email than we are from a social media post. It's 5 times more likely to be seen from an email than it is from Facebook for those reasons I talked about beforehand. In particular, when it comes time to making an appointment, purchasing decisions, that happens way more on email than it does on social media posts. And in particular, if we go right back to the beginning, one of the things I love about email is that we own that communication method there too. It can't be taken away from us. No one's going to change the rules. Even if we get kicked off of MailChimp, they change things. You've got the audience. You can just go to another provider, ActiveCampaign or Kartra or someone like that too, and you can continue your communication back and forwards. You don't have to worry about what the social media platforms like you're saying or not like you're saying. You know, at the moment, lots of the social media platforms are very hesitant around us kind of giving health advice, particularly during these times of COVID. But we could share lots of that stuff inside of an email without being really worried about it. So in particular though, one of the questions I get asked a lot is how do I go about getting the email address of people that aren't already patients? How do I build that email list? Now, if you're thinking that question, then good, because in today's episode, I'm going to answer that as well. Now, before we get into that, I just want to do a quick rehash on a concept called the buying cycle. And the buying cycle is the amount of time it takes from someone going completely unknown from a business. They don't even know that you exist as a chiropractor, a naturopath, all the way through to them being kind of making their first appointment with you. Now, that takes time, and it takes more time now than ever, mostly because there's across the board with all industries, there's a massive lack of trust nowadays. Lack of trust and lots of different choice means that we really go into a lot of research before we make these decisions. Now, Facebook released some statistics in this last 12 months that said on average, across all their businesses that are advertising on there, it takes 43 days from someone to go from unknown to that business all the way through to a purchasing decision. Many cases, I think, particularly for businesses like yours and ours, chiropractors, naturopaths, dentists, it can take even longer. Sometimes it can take months and maybe even years. I like to think about this process as a bit like farming. I'm setting up different paddocks where I'm growing different crops, and I want those crops to all mature at different stages. So I've always got food. In your case, what we're thinking about here. So you've always got new patients that are different stages of that maturity to where they build enough trust. And email's a really great tool to be doing that as well. Now, if we're wanting to get the email addresses from people, then in essence, what we need to create is an ethical bribe. So our email addresses are a thing of value. Now, I don't just hand out my email address to anybody. I'm guessing you see this lots too, particularly nowadays. Whenever I go into any business, they all have these loyalty membership type sort of programs that, they'll give me 5% off if I give them my email address. Now, the reason they're doing that is they understand my email address is valuable for all the reasons I just explained to you beforehand. But I probably like you, I have a kind of secondary email address. I give them my old kind of Gmail address that I never check anyway, just so I can get the discount. Or many times, if I'm just not interested, I just say, no, I don't have email. I'm not going to hand out my email address to just anybody. So there's a couple of things that go into this too. The key, though, in me handing out my email address is there needs to be real value. Now, here's an important thing. And when I'm teaching this stuff to a lot of my coaching clients, we really have to stop for a moment and drive this point home. What's valuable to one person is not valuable to another. And I'll give you an extreme example. I want you to imagine one of those kind of circular, life-saving kind of donut things that we see kind of hanging on piers and the side of boats as well. That item is not valuable to me right now when I'm here in my home office. It's not even really valuable to me if I'm down at the beach having a swim. I'm a very capable swimmer, and let's pretend I'm not drowning at the moment there too. It's just not valuable to me, or not of value to me. But that particular item is incredibly valuable to somebody who's in the water and they're drowning. It's the only person that's of value to. You need to create a piece of content. I'll talk about different ideas, a checklist, a video that's really valuable like that. But you need to understand it's not going to be valuable to everybody. In fact, I often talk about when you're creating your videos, not to be trying to create videos that are valuable to everybody, because if you try and create something that's valuable to everybody, it doesn't really have value at all there too. So your piece of content that you're creating, the video, the checklist that you're creating, needs to have that kind of value. It needs to really solve a problem. Now, here's an example of one that I released recently for the Marketing Your Practice podcast. It was a little booklet, that PDF booklet that I put together called Attraction. It had 100 patient attracting video ideas in it as well. So it gave you a whole bunch of different ideas of videos that you could create. I created some ads on Facebook. I talked about this inside of my podcast. I posted about it on Instagram and said, hey, if you're really struggling for video ideas, I've put together this little workbook through here as well. It'll give you 100 patient attracting video ideas. Head to this address, give me your name and email. I'll send it to you. It's an ethical bribe, okay? So for some of you, that was really valuable, high enough in value that you're happy to give me your email address so you could go and download it as well. Now, I've had different versions of this for my chiropractic practice as well. We've had checklists that have helped people set up their desks, home exercises, my sitting fitness exercises, different solutions to kind of help them get rid of their back pain as well. This is sometimes referred to, as I have today, as an ethical bribe. Sometimes it's referred to as a lead magnet. I think it was the crew over at Digital Marketing, Ryan Dyson, those guys that first came up with that concept through there too. But we want to create a piece of content that is good enough that somebody will give you their email address. So your lead magnet, we'll refer to it as that as we move forward, should build trust and goodwill. It's important that it's really high quality from there too. It should show empathy. It's a really important thing that we should be doing in all of our content, our videos. When we show empathy, it's one of those things that really helps us connect as well. We're all looking for that in our relationships as well. It should build authority. It should show that you can actually help. It's the other thing I talk about that our content should always do. The idea of this here, in this example here, attraction, is to move you guys one step closer to the outcome that you're wanting. In this case here, the outcome is that you want to be making videos. This will help you get a bit closer to it because it gives you some ideas, and coming up with video ideas is one of the things that really gets in the way of you making videos. So in building authority, our PDF, our video, our checklist should help to get them one step closer to whatever they're looking for as well. It should give them a risk-free way of experiencing you. So again, this here, there's no cost for it, just an email address. You get to kind of check me out and go, oh, that's highly valuable, or that was a waste of my time. That guy's a loser as well. Part of what this lead magnet should do is it should direct people back to your practice as well. At the end of it, it should say, hey, here's what we do, here's where we are, here's the kind of people that we help, and maybe you could give them a special offer inside of there as well. It should have a dedicated email follow-up sequence. So after somebody comes and downloads your special report there as well, there should be 3 or 4 emails that you automate afterwards that reminds them of the value, talks through some other points there as well, invites them into the practice. And the final thing to kind of think about with regards to your lead magnet is it should be automated. It should be doing, this is one of the great things about email marketing, is that all of this should be going on completely while you're sleeping. We don't have to be handing these out, around our community one-to-one and following up. This can all happen kind of automated as well. So what are some ideas? If you're thinking now, okay, I get this, but what kind of ideas could I have for a lead magnet? Well, here's 6 different kind of ideas, and we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into them. You could do a checklist. So this checklist could be, so you need to decide first of all, who's your audience? And maybe if your audience is, look, I really like helping people with headaches. That's what I get really great results with those kind of things. So number one type of lead magnet idea could be a checklist. And so the checklist you could put together is, I've put together a checklist of the top 20 foods that cause and contribute to headaches as well. You could be having these foods each and every day and not knowing, and they could be contributing to your headaches. If you'd like to get a hold of this checklist, pop your name and email down beneath here and I'll send it straight to you. So that's a checklist type of idea. It could be a special report, okay? A PDF report that you put together of the 5 biggest secrets to natural headache relief without having to take, Nurofen or Panadol, ibuprofen, those kind of things there too. So a PDF report is a great one. That's what this is. This attraction one here was a PDF report that I put together as well. In a moment, I'm going to go through some naming ideas that will help you, because as important as what the lead magnet idea is, the naming it the right way is really important as well. It could be an assessment tool as well. It could be, again, if we stick with this idea of headaches as well, it could be a postural assessment tool for people with headaches. You might be telling people that one of the number 1 contributors to headaches is poor posture, particularly forward head posture or upper crossed syndrome as well. I want you to get a hold of this posture assessment test to see whether you might have that upper crossed or forward head posture that might be contributing to your headaches. That would be a great thing to have there too. It could be a video. It could be simply those things that I talked about before, but in a video format. Hey, listen, I've put together a special video format for those of you that might be suffering, a special video for those of you that might be suffering from headaches as well. In it, I go through a checklist of the top foods that cause headaches as well. I go through some of the biggest mistakes that people are making, and I talk through some posture assessment type sort of stuff for you to think about as well. If you want to get hold of that video, pop your name and email in the details below and I'll send it straight to you. That would be a video that we could do. It could be a special product that you give somebody for free, a sample that you send them out as well. Maybe you've got some magnesium samples that might be great for people with headaches, migraines, those kind of things there as well. You could send them a free sample of that. It could be a discount code. So if you have more of an online business, product-based business, then again, we see this all the time. Put your name and email address in, and then I'll send you a 10% discount. So these are all lead magnet ideas. It comes back to this though. What would be valuable for your audience? What are they looking for? What is a problem that they have? And how can you start to solve that problem? And then how can I do that either in the form of a checklist, PDF report, an assessment tool, video, product, discount code, okay? That's what we're thinking about with regards to those things too. Naming your lead magnet is really important. I spoke about this in kind of previous episodes of coming up with different kind of hooks and naming. So the name of it's really important because this concept of we do judge a book by its cover. If it's got a great name, then that's important. Here's 4 different kind of frameworks to think about with regards to kind of naming things as well. The X steps to Y, the 3 steps to a strong core. So, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps as well, where Y that I talked about before, that's the, that's the outcome that they're after. So what do they want? It could be the 5 steps to getting headache free that we could look at. Dr. Jen's 5-step blueprint, fertility blueprint, that would be an example that you could do. Secrets is another really powerful and engaging word. So it could be the 3 secrets to a strong core, or the 3 secrets to natural headache relief. The 3 secrets your doctor didn't tell you about IVF. This concept of secrets is incredibly engaging. It stimulates a lot of curiosity. That's an important thing as well. So when you're thinking about your lead magnet, whether it be a video series, your checklist, your PDF report there as well, it could be a steps, 4 steps to get the result they want, or it could be a secrets one as well. I also really like the concept of how to get something good without something bad. This is that old concept of how to lose weight without going on a diet as well. So it could be, again, how to strengthen your core without doing crunches, how to get rid of your headaches without taking pain relief. That would be an example that we could do there as well. How to get pregnant without IVF. So again, how to get something that your audience wants without something they don't want, without having to do the bad thing there as well. Mistakes or warnings, that's another framework that works really great as well. What not to do if you want a strong core, what not to do if you want to get rid of your headaches can be a good example as well. Or it could be the 5 mistakes that are preventing you from falling pregnant naturally as well. So these kind of 4 frameworks that I've talked about here are great naming frameworks that'll make your lead magnet even more magnetic, even more attractive as well. When I'm thinking about coming up with content with content for my lead magnets, one of the things I really love to think about is the before to after framework as well. So it's like, where do I come up with ideas for what I might kind of share inside of there? Let's go through this process. Let's think about, we're talking about headaches here. Let's talk about somebody in their before state where they've got their cranky, stinky headaches. Life sucks. They're not able to exercise because their headaches, often come on at the end of the day when they want to go to the gym, or they're there first thing in the morning. They're feeling tired because of them as well. They're getting behind on their work. They're feeling like they're not being the parent that they ought to be. They're not able to study. So if you really think about what life is like for that person, think about if you're, if your person is a headache person and we've seen them in practice, think about that. And then the after phase would be, after they've come and seen you and you've done your magic work, you've fixed up their diet, you've got their spine working great, life is doing better. What is life like for them afterwards? And then I start to think about what are all the things that I would need to do to help somebody get from that before state to the after state. Now, some of those things might be, let's stick with those headaches. I need to improve their posture. I need to find out what foods might be triggering their headaches. We might need to look at stress. We might need to look at their kind of work setup. Is their computer kind of irritating their eyes as well? Are they hydrating enough? Are they getting enough sleep? I'd go through all of those kind of things there too. And you might find that out of all those ideas and getting them from their before cranky state all the way to their after state where they're feeling fantastic, you might go, that'd be a really great idea. I could put in, and it might go through all of those. You might go 7 things that you need to do to get rid of your headaches naturally, where you went through everything from diet to posture to sleep to stress to hydration to all of those kind of things there too. So that concept of kind of before to after is a really great way for you to come up with content for your lead magnet. Okay, let's bring all this together. If we're wanting to get their email addresses of people in our community, then we need to come up with a high quality bribe, an ethical bribe that is valuable to them, that helps to solve a problem. The format of that can be anything from a video to a downloadable checklist. You could actually even send them something if that's what was the most valuable piece of content for them as well. It should look great. It's reflecting you and your services. So if you're going to be handing out a PDF or a checklist, get some graphic design work on it, or head over to places like Canva. This allows us to be graphic designers. There's really great kind of checklists and documents that you can use from there, but it really needs to reflect you and your professional kind of services as well. It does need to be valuable, okay? Give all your best stuff there. Don't hold back. The more you're able to solve somebody's problem, the more likely you're able to build trust, authority, and expertise. And that will, in the long term, is much more likely to end up with somebody getting on the phone and actually calling you as well. Remember, this needs to be all automated. Now, it can take a little bit of setting up in the early phases as well, but once it's all set up once, it's ticking away in the background as well. So you'll have a spot perhaps on your website where they can go and get this. It's often called an opt-in page, or it might be on the homepage of your website. So if you're talking to somebody, you're shooting a video, again, another video where you're talking a little bit about headaches. Hey, today's video, we're talking all about hydration, the importance of hydration and making sure your spine is working great, and particularly for those of you who have headaches. If you haven't downloaded my checklist of the 20 most common foods for headache sufferers, make sure you head on over to lifechiropractic.com/headache and you can download that there. I would mention that checklist in many of the videos, in my social media posts, and I would be referring to it all the time because it allows my audience a way to start to begin a relationship with me without having to actually kind of come into the practice. There is almost infinite number of lead magnets. The one thing that I can probably promise you is that it might take 2 or 3 different versions of this to find out what your audience wants as well. So be okay testing it, trying to find out. One of the ways that you can find out what your audience wants is actually asking them, letting them know, hey, listen, I'm thinking about putting some checklists together for you, for those of you that are maybe headache sufferers or whatnot. What are your biggest challenges? What do you need a hand with? Those kind of things. Then find out what they want. That's always the best way when it's coming to creating content. Gang, that's it. That's the end of our little email marketing series there for us as natural health and wellness experts as well. This is something that I think that you should, over this next quarter, start to instigate into your practice. Not only is it a fabulous way to introduce you to new people, but the most valuable thing about email marketing for me is keeping in contact with my existing patient base, continuing to remind them of the value of the care that we deliver, letting them know of any changes that are happening inside of our practice, sending them to the videos that I make. I make all these great videos. I want them to actually see them. If I just pop them up on social media, then they very often get lost as well. That's it from me. Hey, as always, friends, thanks for all that you do. Keep saving lives. Look forward to seeing you back here on the next episode. All right, see you soon. Bye. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out the Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work one-on-one with you to apply, implement, systematize, and help guide you and your practice to the next level. Now you can join me on over at adiomedia.com/join. That's adiomedia.com/join. I'd love to see you in there.